The door opens, and a woman resembling Headmaster Coins, but with short hair and leather clothes stands in the doorway. "Coins, come with me if you want to live." As the van screeched to a halt in the dark alleyway, Phil quickly jumped out, his heart pounding with anticipation. "Yes, Headmaster," he murmured, surveying the scene. Sarah Coins, standing with a commanding presence, corrected him sharply. "It's Sarah Coins, actually." The driver lay unconscious on the ground, and Phil couldn't help but whisper in awe, "Whoa, did Headmaster Sarah Coins just do that?" Chris, looking around nervously, asked, "Thanks for the help, Miss Coins. Where to now?" "This way," Sarah instructed, leading them to a nearby manhole. She lifted the cover with ease and descended, gesturing for the others to follow. Jack, still struggling with the formalities, murmured, "Thank you, Mistress Coins." Sarah stopped and turned, her eyes flashing with irritation. "Don't insult me," she snapped. Jack blinked, taken aback. "What?" Chris sighed, reluctantly discarding his harem outfit as he prepared to follow her. "Ah, my beautiful harem outfit, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make," he mumbled, climbing down the manhole. As they descended into the underground, Sarah's voice echoed back. "Mistress suggests I own you. I'm a free thinker and work towards freeing the enslaved people of this earth. Do not call me mistress." Jack apologized, explaining, "I can't help it. It's a curse. I call everyone master or mistress because of that damn cursed tent." Phil, trying to keep up, followed Chris closely. "Yes, Headmaster Coins." Jack continued to explain. "Mistress Danny and Mistress Phil decided to go ahead and use the tent, which pulled us all in. We ended up in this messed up timeline place." Sarah nodded, understanding dawning on her face. "I suspected it was something like that." The group emerged into an old subway station, surprisingly clean and filled with harem girls who greeted them warmly. Jack, recounting their story, said, "We were camping on a beach, meant to use the tent as a last-case scenario safe haven. But someone decided to use it early." Phil, gulping, looked around. "In an odd way, it feels good to be a harem girl," he admitted quietly. Jack added, "And they all ended up looking like that. I ended up like this." Despite the odd surroundings, the harem girls were friendly, and one even hugged Chris, who, after a moment of hesitation, hugged back. Phil tried to blend in. "Yes, most wonderful to be back," he said, hoping to remain undercover. Jack, still confused, asked, "What is this place?" Sarah Coins answered, "Welcome to the Underground Railroad. Here we find and protect free thinkers." Jack's relief was palpable. "Ah, good. Thank you, but we need to get back home. Well, to our world." Sarah nodded, her expression serious. "You mentioned a tent. So, you were transported here and transformed against your will?" Chris confirmed. "Pretty much sums it up," murmured. "Thank you, Mistress Coins." Matthew, who had fainted earlier, woke up and looked around, her eyes wide with excitement. Where are we?" "This looks like a TMNT hideout, so cool," she exclaimed, adding a touch of levity to the tense atmosphere. Sarah Coins stood firm, addressing the group with authority. "You mentioned a tent. So, you were transported here and transformed against your will." Jack, nodding vigorously, replied, "Exactly, mistress." Before he could say more, Phil slapped him across the back of the head. "We did all decide to sleep in the tent," Phil said, scratching his head. "Didn't think it was against my free will." Sarah shook her head. DT's greed knows no bounds. There have been rumors that he wasn't satisfied with having 8 billion slaves, so he sent those tents across the multiverse to kidnap more. Jack, rubbing his head, muttered, "Fucking hell. A remote control trap, like something the master would do." Matthew Bailey, wincing from the slap, interjected, "OECH, what was that for?" Turning to Sarah, he introduced himself, "Matthew here. What info do we have against DT? Maybe I can help." Jack, still processing, added, "A bloody remote control trap TARDIS sounds exactly like what the master would do." Sarah explained, basically, he was a criminal billionaire who was about to be imprisoned. To avoid that, he used his wealth to gather all 1,000 wishing coins. With them, he transformed everyone on Earth, except for himself, into harem girl slaves. Chris, puzzled, asked, question? What does DT stand for? Matthew pondered aloud. Interesting. How did he gather 1,000 coins? That would have been a monumental task. Shouldn't he be transformed as well? Jack added, he was if you think about it. Some might say he turned into the ruler and leader of so many slaves. Am I correct? Sarah nodded. The coins teleport when used, and he managed to get his hands on the chest where they teleport to. He then used his staff to gather them over years. Once you have all of them, you get infinite wishes that don't backfire. No one knows what DT stands for, as he erased that knowledge from memory. Chris shook his head. Wow, evil overlord who covers all his tracks. Matthew turned back to Sarah. Matthew here, what info do we have against DT? Maybe I can help. Sarah smiled slightly. I was hoping you would say that. Besides, we can help each other. Phil stepped forward. Headmaster coins? Do you think it's possible for us to go after the chest and return it to the collectors? Matthew agreed. I couldn't agree more. Jack nodded. We can help with that. Matthew asked, coins, do you mind if I question the other girls here to get a better understanding? Jack interjected, I'm not sure if you still have the saying in your timeline, but in ours, we say, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Matthew continued, also, we noticed someone very familiar to us. We were thinking that maybe there is a chance there are other versions of us here. Chris looked thoughtful. Wait, how are there still free thinkers left if he wished for the entire world to be his harem? Does that mean you are from a different universe too? Jack warned, hey, no. Don't go to that. That can only lead to disaster. We've been over this. Matthew sighed. Couldn't hurt to know. Maybe it would be useful in the future. There could be bigger threats than this. We need all the help we can get. Phil added, if we leave this timeline, wouldn't that mean losing a chance to get the chest from DT? Jack exclaimed, did you pay no attention to what I said? It's a miracle that time itself hasn't exploded from us coexisting in this same timeline as other versions of us. Matthew conceded, I did pay attention, but it could have been useful. Jack shook his head. Hypothetically, if we did meet them and the universe didn't blow up, how would it help us? Sarah took a deep breath. We need to focus on the task at hand. Retrieving the chest from DT is our priority. Everything else can wait. The group nodded in agreement, the weight of their mission settling on their shoulders. Phil scratched his head, his voice hesitant. Didn't Danny mention DT before we entered the tent, mistress? He cringed, realizing he had used the title too. Oh God, I'm saying it too. Matthew Bailey stepped in, his tone thoughtful. They've been here longer than any of us. They could have crucial information that would be useful for a sneak attack, for example. Also, we would have some protection if things go south. It also gives me time to do research and learn more about this world. Jack, still annoyed, corrected him. No, that was the other two guards. Matthew added, but I don't discard the fact that they may be working with DT. Phil nodded. I do agree with Matthew. Intel would be good. Matthew continued, we did see Grimoire, or who we believe is Grimoire, working with him. Chris chimed in, pouting, if we find ourselves and we work for DT, then we could, take our place, infiltrate maybe? Jack scoffed. And what do you have in this universe, where mindless drones? Matthew smiled. Exactly, nail on the head, that was my idea. Good job, Chris. Jack warned, intel would be useful, but I'm just warning you, you may not like what you find. Phil's mind was still foggy. Wasn't our mission to go after one single coin? Now that we know DT is stealing coins, should we not do whatever it takes? Matthew nodded. Things change. Jack added, if it can be avoided, and even if it is necessary, do not reveal who you are. Matthew agreed. Exactly, never reveal your true name or intentions. Jack continued, that's how it went with Dr. Eric Brown. They talked to each other, neither realizing the other was also from a different place. Phil asked, shouldn't we gather intel for headmaster coins in our timeline? Matthew whispered, I think your nerdiness is showing. Jack replied, do you want me to Gibbs slap you again, mistress? Matthew quickly responded, no. No. You're good. He laughed awkwardly. Jack turned back to Sarah. Now, Mistress Coins, we need to think of a way to help each other. Phil added, my only regret is that even though the other coins are coming from other universes, do we not know if they are being deposited here? Should we not gather intel for headmaster coins in our timeline? Matthew reassured him, that's what I'm doing. I just need help from the coins of this universe. Phil, realizing his mistake, apologized. Oops, sorry. Matthew Bailey glanced at Phil and said reassuringly, no worries. Phil giggled. I might be the bimbo of the group. He paused, confused by his own words. Why did I just say that? Jack frowned. What's wrong with you? Phil sighed. Oh, I don't know. Golden statue, latex dominatrix, and now a harem girl. Jack nodded thoughtfully. I bet that's a lot of strain on your brain, mistress. Chris chimed in. I will be honest, being a statue was not that horrible, at least for that short time. Jack agreed. Once you were a statue for about the same length of time. Actually, you were a statue for longer, Mistress Christina and Mistress Danny. Phil nodded. Oh, I most certainly agree. Jack continued. So I guess the rope and that sleeping bag are having a lot more effects on you since you've been through more changes than any of us. Phil admitted, yes, for some reason I don't want to be a man again. Jack looked skeptical. Yeah, mistress, okay. I'm pretty sure that's the magic talking. But I may be wrong with this. Who knows, considering. Jack then turned to Chris. What about you, Mistress Christina? Phil looked at Jack with admiration. You've been an inspiration. Jack winced. No, God no. Don't call me that, mistress. I can't stand those names. Chris was contemplative. HM? Oh, me? Not sure if I want to go by Christina or Chris, to be honest. But I am more than okay with being a young, beautiful woman. I could go for smaller breasts though. These might cause back pain. Yes, I am very, very worried about that. Jack offered a solution. Well, I guess we can try both names and see which one you prefer, Mistress Chris. Phil heaved a sigh, adjusting his chest. I kinda wish mine were bigger. Chris decided. I think I like Chris more for the moment. Jack nodded. Okay, Mistress Chris, that is what we will call you now. Phil mused aloud. I feel Phil, or even Filipina doesn't fit me. Jack shrugged. I'm not sure what to call myself like this, but Jack when I get back to normal, mistress. Phil suggested, maybe Headmaster Coins could decide. Jack was curious. Oh! Why have her pick, and also we have no way to contact Mistress Coins. Phil looked around at everyone in the group. How about you girls decide? He felt caught up in their new identities as harem girls. Jack clarified. I'm not a harem girl. For some weird reason, mistress, I ended up as a French maid. Chris thought for a moment. You currently look like... I want to say Caroline. Phil smiled. Caroline it is then. Caroline hummed a tune and sang softly, I love Caroline. My sweet Caroline. Jack nodded approvingly. I agree with Mistress Chris. That name sounds perfect for you, Mistress Caroline. It's girly and feminine, and it suits the new you. Caroline smiled, embracing the name. Thank you, Jack. Caroline it is. Jack added, don't thank me, mistress. It was Mistress Chris's idea. With a delighted laugh, Caroline gave Chris a big hug, their breasts squishing together. Jack watched the scene with a smile. It's nice to see the team trying to keep things lighthearted, even in the worst of times. Sarah Coins stepped forward, her tone steely and resolute. Allow me to make this crystal clear. When you use that coin to reshape the entire world, you're bound to encounter some, what we'll call, wish glitches. In this specific case, it has left people with their minds still intact. But as for me, I happened to be off-world when this colossal change transpired. That's precisely why I remain the unyielding individual you see before you. You could say I'm DT's white whale, and I don't back down easily. Jack looked thoughtful. Hold on, I'm pretty sure this is actually a different timeline, like different worlds. Sarah Coins nodded. You are correct. Jack continued, I don't know if the coins in this world will work with us. We're not from here. Sarah Coins clarified, I am the coins from this world. Jack suggested, okay, so you use them, mistress. For some weird reason, mistress, I ended up as a French maid. Caroline, filled with admiration, asked, Headmaster Coins, is there anything in this world we can do? Sarah corrected her, I am not Headmaster Coins. Jack interjected, the coins, mistress. Caroline quickly apologized, so sorry, Sarah Coins. Chris stepped in, trying to clarify their situation. Please excuse them. They have been through a lot, and their minds were messed with a lot. I will try to bullet point this. We are here in a parallel world from ours, and we want to bring down the dictator who used the wishing coins. We need a plan. Jack added, exactly. Sarah Coins sighed, it's okay. Me and my sisters aren't the easiest to keep separate. Jack apologized, sorry, I'm trying my best to keep focused. ADHD can be a pain when there's a lot going on, especially when under a lot of pressure. Chris continued, very well then, Miss Coins. How can we help? You know much about this DT, I guess, and you can just use us for your plan, I suggest. Sarah Coins explained, but all the coins are with DT, and if he sees me, he will use them on me. Jack suggested, yeah, but what about us? Chris quickly agreed, then we need to keep you out of sight. Sarah Coins took out a mallet. I need you to hit something for me. Jack was confused. We are not from here, like I said, so they shouldn't have the same effect. Chris asked, hit what? Sarah Coins handed the mallet to the group, leaving the question hanging in the air. Sarah Coins stepped forward, her eyes narrowing as she faced the gathered crowd. Her tone was steely and resolute, cutting through the murmur of anxious voices. Allow me to make this crystal clear, she began, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. When you use that coin to reshape the entire world, you're bound to encounter what we'll call wish glitches. The room fell silent, everyone hanging on her every word. Sarah's gaze swept over them, her presence commanding attention. In this specific case, she continued, it has left people with their minds still intact. But as for me, I happened to be off-world when this colossal change transpired. She paused, letting the significance of her words sink in. Her stance was unyielding, a beacon of defiance against the chaos that had been unleashed. That's precisely why I remain the unyielding individual you see before you, she declared, her voice firm. You could say I'm DT's white whale, and I don't back down easily. A murmur of recognition spread through the crowd. DT, the enigmatic force behind the world's transformation, had met his match in Sarah Coins. She was the one anomaly, the lone rebel untouched by the wish glitches that had altered everyone else. Her resolve was palpable, her determination a force to be reckoned with. As the weight of her words settled over the crowd, Sarah stood tall, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. She was a beacon of hope in a world turned upside down, the unyielding individual who would not back down, no matter the odds. Caroline, known among the group as, piped up with a playful smirk. Oh! Do we have Grimoire's cloak? Jack, or Spartan, B095 as he was called, quickly responded, no, we don't have Mistress Grimoire's cloak like she was wearing last time I saw her. Absent-minded me, Caroline sighed, shaking her head. Jack wasn't deterred. Is the metal flexible at all? Because if so, I have an idea. Chris K. sat quietly, deep in thought, while Matthew Bailey, considered their next steps. Give me a summary of your findings, Jack prompted. Matthew spoke up. So, basically, DT was an ordinary man, just like Coins said earlier. But the funny thing is, he may look like a fat man when in fact he is just a teen corrupted by the coins, thus thinking he is an adult and that everyone should bow to him. Another thing I found is that the other us are nothing more than the opposite of our personalities. So basically, if we happen to meet them, prepare yourself to meet the truth. That's why Grimoire was more firm and in charge. It's not like our Grimoire who is kind and helpful. Also, maybe our other selves still have something left to give, but I'm not so sure since I couldn't find anything. It is all true what Coin said before, down to the last-minute detail. We may be in for a big fight if we are not careful. His obsession with harems and all that comes from his fascination with the Middle East and the vast empires. Jack nodded, absorbing the information. Okay, that should be useful to our advantage. Considering he's just a teen with raging hormones, he should be easily manipulated. Now I'm still waiting for the answer. Are those metals flexible at all, or can they be reshaped? Sarah Coins interjected. Unfortunately, the size and shape are needed for it to work. Jack pressed on. Is there a way to reshape the wood to maybe be hidden inside of a bra? Between the bra itself and our breasts? Or inside of a material? Sarah shook her head. The size and shape are necessary for it to work. Matthew approached Sarah. While investigating, I found some words written on the walls. Since you've been here longest, do they mean anything? What did you find? Sarah asked. Come look, I can't decipher it. It looks Arabic, and I didn't take Arabic in school, Matthew explained. Sarah followed him to the wall. To be fair, I can't read it either. Does anyone here know this language? Matthew asked, his disappointment clear. Sarah sighed. I doubt it. The girls here may look like Arabian girls, but they're all New Yorkers. I haven't seen one who used to be Arabic. No worries, we will find a way. Thanks for the help, Matthew said, as they headed back to the group. Chris K suggested we could split the teams. One tries to seduce him, knock him out, and let Team 2 in to smash the box. Caroline's eyes lit up. Oh, what if we don't hide it at all? Make part of our characters. We could disguise ourselves as a harem circus troupe. Maybe play to DT's twisted fantasies. You beat me to it, Jack said with a grin. I'd help Jack seduce DT, Caroline offered. Jack nodded. Good, okay. So me and Mistress Caroline will take the hammer. I take it people here are good with makeup. I have to admit yes, Caroline said with a chuckle. Chris K looked around, a bit confused. Wait, what plan are we doing now? The group exchanged glances, the gravity of their mission settling over them. They knew they had to tread carefully, but with Sarah's unwavering resolve and their combined skills, they felt a glimmer of hope. The plan was set in motion, each step a calculated risk towards taking down DT and restoring their world. Jack raised his voice to address the group. It's all one plan. We are just refining the details. We are going to need someone to make us look a bit banged up and injured so when we show up, it looks like it was a hard battle. Matthew Bailey, looked around. Who am I pairing up with? Caroline, chimed in. What about those of us seducing DT? I do have a strength of 3. Maybe I could hold DT while someone knocks him out. I can help you, Matthew offered. I have strength too. Jack nodded, focused on the task at hand. We are both of us. But we need to make it look like we've been injured a bit to make it believable that there was a fight. Chris K stepped forward. I would volunteer to be the fake Sarah Coins. Again, we should not risk this world's last hope for real. Caroline nodded thoughtfully. I'm to take a punch in the eye. We may need to make it look as believable as possible. Jack disagreed. I was going to say I'll take a punch to the eye. You're more of the eye candy. Matthew interjected, I can help the resistance and create the distraction. Make sure I'm captured and help from the inside. Jack nodded. We need people to cause havoc on the outside. Try to cause a bit of confusion. We also need some people to sneak into the main building via a window in the front as backup. I'm up for what you tell me, boss, Matthew said, ready to take on his role. Jack continued giving instructions. I want you to find the best places for them to cause distractions and help organize. Who here is the strongest? Got it, boss, Matthew said as he went to investigate. Jack turned to the group. Okay, who else needs a task? Chris K raised his hand. I wanted to volunteer for being fake coins. Not sure if we go for that? Jack shook his head. DT probably has her memories down to the T, so he will probably sniff out a fake and set off an alarm, and we can't have that. But what about you, Mistress Caroline? Caroline, resolute, said, I guess I'm willing to do what it takes to seduce DT. Chris looked at Sarah Coins, concerned. I really don't want to doom this world. Danny, who had been silent, finally spoke up. Where do you want me? Jack looked at her thoughtfully. Well, do you have any combat experience? I'm guessing you were a soldier at the old army base. Danny shook her head. No. I am a full-fledged collector. I used to be a collector on a mission until I ended up cursed. Oh, okay, Jack replied, trying to gauge her usefulness. Well, sure, you have a little bit of experience dealing with pirates and dangerous wildlife, right? Danny's tone became a bit defensive. A collector. I am literally what you guys are training to be. I have years of training under my belt. Jack nodded, realizing her potential. Okay, well, we are going to need you to try and recover the tent. No idea where it might be, but we need it. As the group finalized their plan, the tension in the air was palpable. Each member knew their role, and they were ready to confront DT and his twisted reality. They moved with purpose, disguising themselves as a harem circus troupe and preparing to execute their plan with precision and cunning. The fate of their world rested on their shoulders, and failure was not an option. As Danny sprinted off to retrieve the tent, Sarah Coins looked around at the group. Didn't I tell you guys that destroying the chest would send you home? Jack frowned, shaking his head. No, I don't think you did. But still, it pays to have a backup plan. We need to make sure no one else gets their hands on it. Plus, after one use, it's just an average tent, and we're going to need it to survive. If need be, we can probably use it as an extraction to get new people out of here if it comes to that. You have to plan for the best and have a backup plan for the worst-case scenario. Caroline nodded in agreement. I'm with Sarah Coins on this. Plus, if we destroy the chest, won't that neutralize the tent? Yeah, Jack replied. Neutralize it, and we can use it as shelter on the island. So best option is to go after the chest and destroy it, Caroline concluded, giving her breasts a confident heave. These girls are ready to seduce DT. Jack turned to the group. Okay, does everyone know what their job is? Sarah Coins raised an eyebrow. So, I am not doing anything? Just then, Matthew Bailey returned from his scouting mission. I'm back, boss. I picked up some useful spots for a distraction. We can attack the main square. It's a popular spot and will surely get DT's attention. Jack's eyes lit up. Perfect. Boss, you may want to see this, Matthew said, handing over a detailed sketch. There's a secret passage into the tower that connects to a tunnel in the old subway tunnels. It's hidden behind a fake wall with fake Arabic text on it. Jack looked over the sketch, impressed. This is perfect. Chris K. held her head, looking confused. NGHH. Head hurts. What am I supposed to do again? Caroline stepped up. Sounds like Chris and I could seduce DT while Jack knocks him unconscious. Jack nodded. Your job is to help the resistance cause some small distractions and a bit of confusion throughout the city. We're almost through this. Right. Sorry, Chris said, shaking off her confusion. Matthew looked concerned. Are you okay, Chris? You seem a bit pale, Jack added. Chris protested weakly. I'm not. Miss Coins? Where will we, do the distraction, and what exactly do you need me to do? Sarah Coins stepped forward, gathering 5 girls similar to her body type. The longer you stay, the more influence DT has over you. Matthew's urgency was palpable. Shit, it's only a matter of time now. Boss, we gotta move. Chris struggled to find her words. That, fat, NGH, maybe, what is the word? Wyke, let's get going, Caroline urged. Jack made a swift decision. Fuck, damn it. Okay, mistress, you better stay here. I'm sorry, but I don't want to risk you getting any more affected and losing you. He looked around, realizing no other options for quickly incapacitating someone. I'm guessing since there's probably no antibiotics or knockout pills here, I'm going to have to do something you're going to hate. With a grim expression, Jack wound his fist up and punched Chris squarely in the face, knocking her out cold. I'm sorry, my friend, he whispered. The team quickly regrouped, ready to put their plan into action. As they moved towards their positions, the gravity of their mission weighed heavily on them. The fate of their world depended on their success, and failure was not an option. They moved with determination, ready to confront DT and his twisted reality head-on. To be continued.